Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to talk for a second about what I just read. Officer Eric Casebolt out of McKinney, Texas, who was the officer that you saw who assaulted the young black girl and seemed to only want to arrest black kids down in McKinney, Texas, after an incident that involved a fight between a young black girl and an older white woman. McKinney has resigned from his post. He's no longer a member of the police department, and this was after they placed him on unpaid leave. Now, sorry, it wasn't unpaid leave; it was paid administrative leave. Sorry about that. These cops still get paid when they beat us down, or maybe even if they kill us. Um, I was happy to see that he resigned. And again, I'm not a person who hates the police. My father was a cop for a very long time, and I've seen good cops, but I've also seen bad cops. And so that kind of gives me a mixed perspective when it comes to police officers. I've gotten in trouble for being extremely critical of the police. I've been in trouble for seeming to be too nice to the police. But my bottom line is that I like to know what happened. I like to see any evidence that exists. I remember when Henry Louis Gates was dealt with by that police officer back in 2009. I wasn't really sure what to think about that because I know a bad cop when I see him, and I also know a little bit about Henry Louis Gates. And so because I couldn't quite figure out exactly how the scenario went down, I concluded that it was kind of a waste of the country's time to spend all this energy dealing with a Harvard professor who was inconvenienced because he felt like he shouldn't be inconvenienced because he was a Harvard professor. All the while, you had black men being shot in the back by police all over the country, and I don't hear Gates really speaking on that very often. I don't see Gates really putting his multi-million-dollar empire on the line to fight for rank and file black folks in the street. Now, it's no disrespect to Gates, but he belongs up in the ivory tower with all the other Harvard types. I don't think that his issue. I think he's a man enough to handle his own issue, and that's why you didn't see me jumping to his defense the way a lot of people did. Now, with that said, in this particular case, I saw the video. I watched it carefully. You've seen my commentary on this for the last few days, and I can just say that, when I saw those babies being attacked by those police, I wanted to hurt somebody. I mean, I really wanted to whoop somebody's ass. I'm not gonna lie. There's nothing worse for a father than to see a defenseless little girl have a grown man put both knees into her back and have her face mashed into the ground. And from what I understand, it seemed like I read somewhere that her face was in an anthill, and he didn't care. He did not care. He had her face in the ground. I want you to go outside one day, and I want you to put your face in the mud or in the dirt, and I want you to see what that feels like to have your face in the ground where you can't even breathe, and you got dirt going in your mouth, and little bugs going in your mouth, and then you've got a grown man, somebody twice your size, with both knees in your back. That is beyond words in terms of just how I felt. And then when he pulled out that gun on the young black males that tried to defend her, that took me from level 9 to level 17 on a scale from 1 to 10 in terms of anger. He's traumatized these babies. These kids are going to need therapy. They're going to need somebody to explain to them why all police aren't bad, because from what I can see, those kids don't look like they were dangerous kids. Now, maybe they were being mischievous on some level. I don't even know if they were doing that. From what I saw, there was the fight before the fact where it looked like the black girl was being attacked by two white women. So here you have one black person being assaulted by two white people, and then the white police get called, and they come in and lock up all the black people. I mean, it's absolutely criminal. And the thing is that we should be offended by this criminal justice system. We cannot sit here and pretend like this is okay. It doesn't mean that there aren't criminal people. It doesn't mean that there aren't mistakes people make that they should pay a price for. But understand this, and I want you to make sure you keep this in mind. Don't forget this. The United States incarcerates more of its citizens than any country on earth. We have the highest rate of incarceration of any country on the entire planet. Other countries look at us and say, it seems like you're always locking people up. And then they look deeper and they say, oh my God, you're only locking up the black people. So unless you somehow are such a white supremacist that you believe that black people are just inherently more criminal, more devious, just less ethical than whites, you have to realize that that is racism. That's systemic racism at work. It doesn't mean every brother that gets locked up was innocent. That's not what it means. What it means is that if you take a white guy and a black guy and they commit the same crime, their penalties are going to be very, very different. The black guy will have his life ruined, the white guy might get a second chance. It doesn't mean it's always going to happen that way, but it means that that's what happens on average. Okay, so here's my final conclusion on this guy in McKinney, this old son of a bitch. If I saw him on the street, I might take. I just really don't feel like this is a time to be polite and diplomatic. I ain't interested in marching and praying about it. As a father, when you do that to my children, I want to fight you. Period. And I think it's as simple as that. I think it's very natural. But as far as Casebolt goes, not only should he be fired, firing should be the first step. He should actually be incarcerated himself. He should be indicted. He should be tried for assault on these kids, pulling his gun out on these young boys when he didn't need to do that. He's supposed to be a martial arts expert, and you can't take down two 14-year-old kids or whatever. You can't control the situation. You got 11 of your officers around, and you've got other non-lethal weapons available to you that you could use, but you pull out a gun and almost turn this little situation into something that could have been deadly. You need to be in prison. That's it. This man needs to go to prison. He needs to go to prison for about 3 years. In fact, I would argue that he deserves to get as much time in prison as any of those kids would have gotten if they had pulled a gun out on him, or if they had tackled him and threw him to the ground and forced his face in the dirt and put their knees on his back. If they had assaulted him the same way he assaulted them, their penalty would be far greater than what his penalty is going to be. So we've got to get past this idea of somehow thinking that police deserve this special justice system, because most cops do not. The war on drugs has completely corrupted our criminal justice system. It's turned the black man into a criminal in the eyes of many, many whites. That's why you have this contrast. That's why you have black people who are outraged over this, and some white people, don't get me wrong, but most white people, a lot of white people, especially middle and upper class white people, see these guys as actual heroes. They want to give them awards. They want to thank the police for controlling the situation. Well, that's because the police are not here to serve and protect for everybody. They're here to protect the white from the black, the rich from the poor. So the police officers, many of whom are white, are pretty much a paid army for white America and upper middle class America. And that's kind of what that's the situation we've run into. And unless we have the political courage to adjust this, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse because you've marginalized probably about 20 million people. And it ain't going to be pretty for your society when you do that kind of thing. Well, that's all I want to say. I'm about to get out of here, but I just had to make a comment on this. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I'm gone.